The fork in my hand froze halfway to my mouth as my mother's words hung in the air between us. "You need to move out," she said casually, chewing another bite of the turkey I'd spent hours roasting. The Christmas lights reflecting in her wine glass suddenly seemed harsh and glaring, not festive. Across the table, my sister Olivia's eyes widened in shock, her hand instinctively reaching for mine under the tablecloth. "Really?" I managed, my throat constricting as I carefully set my fork down beside the homemade stuffing I'd woken up at 5 a.m. to prepare. "I pay the rent, cover the bills, and buy all the groceries." My voice remained steady even as I felt heat rising from my collar, the sensation of being ambushed in my own home, the home I financially supported, making my skin prickle uncomfortably. My mother simply shrugged, reaching for more cranberry sauce as if she'd merely commented on the weather forecast rather than detonated my entire life. The Christmas tree lights blinked in my peripheral vision, each color shifting in rhythm with my quickening pulse. "My name is Jessica. I'm 26 and an IT specialist. This is the story of how I reclaimed my worth after the woman I supported betrayed me at my own dinner table." For context, I hadn't moved in with my mother. She had essentially moved in with me. 3 years ago, when she lost her job at the insurance firm where she'd worked for 15 years, the foreclosure notices started arriving. I still remember the day I found her at the kitchen table, surrounded by past due bills. Her normally confident posture crumpled. "I'll handle it," I'd promised, moving back into my childhood bedroom that weekend. What was supposed to be temporary support became a permanent arrangement. Each month, $1,842 left my account for the mortgage, another $237 for utilities, $412 for groceries, $89 for her cell phone, $13.99 for her Netflix subscription. I tracked every penny in a spreadsheet I never showed her, never wanting her to feel like a burden. But somewhere around the 18-month mark, something shifted. Small criticisms became daily occurrences. If I loaded the dishwasher, I'd done it wrong. If I came home after 9 p.m., I was being inconsiderate. If my work calls interrupted her television shows, I was disrespectful. I told myself she was just struggling with her new dependency, that her pride was wounded. I rationalized every cutting remark, every cold shoulder, every guilt trip. After she dropped her Christmas dinner bombshell, I didn't create a scene. The moment crystallized something I'd been feeling for months. I had become a tenant in a home I paid for, tolerated rather than appreciated. As Olivia and our cousin Peter exchanged uncomfortable glances, I simply excused myself from the table, leaving behind the meal I'd spent all day preparing. In my bedroom, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall I'd repainted last spring when Mom mentioned she'd always hated the color. The dresser drawer where I kept my important documents was already partially open. I'd been checking my passport last week for a potential work trip. Now it seemed prophetic. I pulled out the drawer completely and began the mechanical process of gathering everything that mattered. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I methodically packed my belongings, sorting through years of accumulated life. What surprised me wasn't my efficiency, but my calmness. No tears, no rage, just a hollow acceptance that the person I'd sacrificed for had been waiting for the right moment to discard me. By 6:47 a.m., as the first gray light of post-Christmas morning filtered through my window, I had reduced my life to 2 suitcases, a laptop bag, and a small box of mementos. My mother's bedroom door remained firmly closed as I made 3 silent trips to load my car. I left my house key on the kitchen counter beside the coffee maker I'd bought her last birthday. No note, no dramatic goodbye, just the quiet click of the front door behind me. My friend Marcia answered on the first ring despite the early hour. "Need a place to crash?" she asked after I explained in as few words as possible. No questions about why, no judgment, just immediate support. The contrast between her instant kindness and my mother's calculated rejection wasn't lost on me. The first night on Marcia's couch, I stared at my phone, half expecting some recognition from my mother that she'd made a mistake. By the third night, as I signed the lease on a small studio apartment on Westfield Avenue, I had stopped checking for notifications from her. By the 5th night, as I assembled a second-hand bed frame in my new space, I realized she wasn't going to reach out at all. The silence was deafening. The woman who'd raised me, who I'd financially supported for 3 years, didn't even care enough to check if I had a roof over my head. The realization settled into my chest like concrete hardening. Then, 11 days after Christmas, my phone lit up with a message from Olivia. "Call me ASAP. You need to hear what Mom is telling everyone." I stepped out of my new apartment building into the bitter January cold to take the call, my breath forming clouds as Olivia's words hit me like physical blows. "She's telling everyone you abandoned her." My sister's voice trembled with anger. "She told Aunt Rachel you screamed at her during Christmas dinner and stormed out, leaving her with no way to pay bills. She's saying you've changed, become selfish and materialistic." The cold air suddenly wasn't enough. My lungs felt compressed, unable to expand fully as the betrayal deepened. It wasn't enough that she'd pushed me out. Now she was systematically destroying my reputation within our extended family. "Aunt Rachel is organizing a meal train for her," Olivia continued, disgust evident in her tone. "Uncle William called me asking what happened to you, why you'd do something so heartless. Mom's playing the victim perfectly, Jess, and people are believing her." That night, I checked my social media accounts to find the digital equivalent of doors slamming in my face. Uncle William had unfriended me on Facebook. Cousin Peter had removed me from our family group chat. Aunt Rachel, who had once promised to always be there for me after my father died, had posted a vague status about supporting family in difficult times that had garnered sympathetic comments from relatives I'd known my entire life. The injustice burned through the numbness I'd been cultivating. I'd given up promotions that required relocation to stay and support my mother. I'd postponed graduate school to maintain our financial stability. I'd sacrificed dating relationships that couldn't withstand my constant familial obligations. And my reward was character assassination. For 3 days, I drafted and deleted potential responses. A group message exposing the truth felt too defensive. Individual calls would be exhausting and might not be answered. Then, at 2:14 a.m. on a Tuesday, sitting on my still bare mattress with only the glow of my laptop illuminating my face, I found my approach. I wrote a post. Not an angry rant, not a desperate plea, but a methodical, fact-based account. I detailed the exact amount I'd paid monthly for the mortgage, $1,842. I listed the utilities I'd covered for 38 consecutive months. I explained how I'd come home from work to find her foreclosure notice and immediately stepped in. I described cooking the Christmas dinner she claimed I'd abandoned. And finally, I recounted her exact words. "You need to move out." No accusations, no name-calling. Just verifiable facts with dates, amounts, and specific details that couldn't be easily dismissed as emotional exaggeration. I ended with a simple statement. "I wish my mother well, but I cannot continue to financially support someone who doesn't value my presence." I posted it, shut my laptop, and finally slept soundly for the first time since Christmas. The digital earthquake hit while I slept. By the time I checked my phone the next morning, the notification counter had given up, simply showing 99 plus in bright red. Text messages, voicemails, comments, and private messages flooded in faster than I could process them. The first one I opened was from Aunt Rachel. "Jessica, I owe you an apology. Your mother told me a completely different version of events. I should have reached out to you directly before making judgments. If you need anything at all, please let me know." Uncle William had commented publicly. "I've known your mother my entire life, and I should have remembered her tendency to reshape narratives. I'm sorry I didn't hear your side first." Even Cousin Peter had messaged. "Jess, we always saw how she treated you. Should have spoken up sooner. My spare room is yours if you need it." Each message peeled back layers of isolation I hadn't fully acknowledged. For years, I'd internalized my mother's narrative that I was the problem, that my support wasn't enough, that my presence was an inconvenience. Now, seeing others recognize the truth felt like oxygen rushing into a sealed room. But the validation came with its own pain. If they had seen how she treated me, why had no one said anything? If her behavior was recognizable enough that they immediately believed my account, why had I been left to navigate it alone for so long? My mother's response came exactly as I'd predicted, in waves that perfectly tracked her standard emotional manipulation playbook. First came the wounded innocence. I can't believe you would humiliate me publicly like this after everything I've done for you. When that received no response, she pivoted to outright denial. You're twisting my words. I never told you to leave. You chose to walk out. You're making yourself the victim as always. And finally, when the silence continued, she reached the bargaining stage. I think we both said things we regret. We should talk about this privately, as a family. I didn't respond to any of it. There was nothing left to say. The facts were public now, and they spoke for themselves. 3 weeks into my new independence, I bought myself a real couch. Not secondhand, not from a discount warehouse, but a brand new sectional in exactly the color I wanted. I positioned it exactly where I wanted it. I ate dinner sitting on it while watching shows at full volume, small rebellions that felt like declarations of independence. Then one evening, as I was returning from the grocery store, I saw Olivia sitting on the steps outside my building. Her face looked thinner, shadows under her eyes pronounced even in the dim hallway lighting. "It's gotten worse," she said without preamble once we were inside. The mortgage payment bounced. The electricity was shut off for 2 days before she managed to borrow enough from Grandma to turn it back on. She's blaming you for abandoning her, but she's also refusing to look for work, says her health won't allow it, though she seems fine when her friends invite her out. I set down the grocery bags, the familiar weight of responsibility already pressing on my shoulders. For a moment, I could feel myself calculating what I could cut from my budget to help. Then I caught myself. "I'm sorry you're dealing with this," I said carefully, "but I can't go back to that situation." Olivia's response stopped my breath. "I know. You did the right thing by leaving, Jess. You should have left sooner." She looked around my small apartment with its mismatched furniture and bare walls. This place has more peace in it than that house ever did. Coming from the only other person who had lived under that roof, her words were both validation and absolution. She wasn't asking me to fix things. She was confirming I'd made the right choice in not setting myself on fire to keep someone else warm. "I'm thinking about moving out too," she admitted, "once I figure out how to make it work financially." "When you're ready," I promised. "I'll help however I can." We ordered takeout that night, talking openly about childhood memories we'd both reinterpreted as adults. The subtle favoritism our mother had shown her younger brother, our uncle. The way she'd isolated our father from his friends before their divorce. Patterns we'd been too young to recognize then, but could name clearly now. The knock on my door came exactly 5 weeks after Christmas. Through the peephole, I saw my mother standing in the hallway, holding what appeared to be a store-bought apple pie. Her hair was freshly done, her smile practiced. I stepped into the hallway rather than inviting her in, closing my apartment door behind me. My sanctuary remained mine. "Jessica," she began, her voice taking on the gentle tone she used when asking for favors. "I've missed you. Things aren't the same without you around." She extended the pie slightly. "I thought maybe we could have dinner sometime, talk things through." I studied her face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse. "Did you come to apologize?" I asked directly. She paused, the practiced smile faltering slightly. "I don't think I need to," she replied, her true self showing through the performance. "I think we both made mistakes." And there it was. The confirmation that nothing had changed except her circumstances. No recognition of what she'd done, no accountability, just the expectation that I would once again adjust to accommodate her needs. "I wish you well, Mom," I said quietly, and closed the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't yell. I simply closed it firmly, the soft click of the latch more final than any dramatic gesture could have been. Inside my apartment, my home, I stood for a moment with my hand still on the doorknob. I waited for the familiar surge of guilt, the gnawing worry about whether I was doing the right thing. It didn't come. Instead, I felt something unfamiliar. Peace. The post I wrote remained online, not as an act of revenge, but as a record of truth. Some family members still occasionally commented on it, often tagging others who needed to see evidence that setting boundaries wasn't selfish, that supporting family didn't mean sacrificing yourself. Olivia moved out 2 months later, taking a small apartment closer to her university. We meet for coffee every Sunday morning, a new tradition that belongs entirely to us. Sometimes we talk about our mother, sometimes we don't. Either way, we're building something new from the ruins of what broke us. As for me, I finally enrolled in that graduate program I'd postponed. My apartment now has art on the walls, pieces I chose because they spoke to me, not because they match someone else's aesthetic. I cook meals just for myself, using spices my mother always claimed were too strong. I no longer keep a spreadsheet of expenses paid for others. Instead, I track progress toward my own goals. I'm learning, slowly but steadily, that family is supposed to lift you up, not drain you dry. That love doesn't keep a balance sheet. And most importantly, that peace isn't selfish. Sometimes it's the only way to survive. The word outsider sliced through the room like a blade as I stood frozen, champagne flute trembling in my hand. My mother-in-law's voice hung in the air between us, casual yet devastating. I watched my husband's family continue discussing their Mediterranean cruise. It was the one I'd secretly paid for 6 months ago as their anniversary gift. They were explicitly uninviting me from joining. Family only means blood family, my father-in-law Nathan explained with that condescending smile I'd grown to recognize. No outsiders. The brochures scattered across their coffee table seemed to blur before my eyes. The deluxe suite with the private balcony, the Santorini sunset excursion, the family dinners I'd never be part of because, after 8 years of marriage, I was still somehow not family. My name is Leslie, I'm 36 and a marketing executive. This is the story of how I stopped bankrolling people who treated me like an unwelcome guest. I'd spent years trying to earn my place in the Jackson family, 8 years of marriage to their son, Paul, 2 miscarriages they never acknowledged, and countless family gatherings where I was treated like an employee rather than a daughter-in-law. But I'd also spent years quietly covering their financial emergencies. I paid for vacations they couldn't afford and solved problems they pretended didn't exist. "We're explaining to Leslie about the cruise," Olivia said smoothly to her son as he walked in from the kitchen, "how it's for family only." I watched my husband's face, waiting for him to defend me. Instead, he shrugged. "It's their anniversary, Les. Their choice. Their choice." Like I was a casual acquaintance, not his wife of 8 years. The room seemed to contract around me, the familiar sensation of being invisible in plain sight. I'd felt it at Paul's company party when Olivia introduced me as Paul's wife, the one who does computer things, instead of the chief marketing officer of a company with 50 employees. I'd felt it when Nathan had called my successful business a little hobby while cashing the checks that paid for his new golf clubs. "Of course," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "Your celebration, your rules." Nathan looked pleased, like I'd finally learned my place. "Knew you'd understand. Besides, someone needs to watch the house while we're gone. You wouldn't mind, would you?" "Not at all," I replied, already pulling out my phone. "In fact, let me help with something right now." They watched as I scrolled through my contacts. Olivia smiled, probably thinking I was going to offer to house sit properly, maybe water her precious orchids. "Oceania Cruises VIP desk? Yes, this is Leslie Jackson, account number 447829. I kept my voice pleasant, professional. "I need to discuss the Mediterranean dream booking for next month." Nathan frowned. "What are you doing?" I held up a finger. "Yes, that's correct. The booking for 8 people. The one with the $25,000 deposit." I paused, feeling their stares intensify. "I'd like to cancel it, please." The room went silent except for the customer service representative's voice confirming the cancellation. "What?" Olivia's voice came out as a squeak. "You can't!" "Actually, I can," I said, still on the phone. "Yes, please process the full cancellation. Credit back to the card on file. Perfect, thank you so much." I hung up and smiled at their shocked faces. "That was our cruise!" Nathan roared, his face turning an alarming shade of red. "No," I corrected. "That was my cruise, paid for with my credit card from my marketing firm's bonus last year. You know, the job you always call playing on computers?" But we planned everything, Olivia stammered. The whole family was going. The whole family minus one outsider, I reminded her. So now the whole family can stay home together. Won't that be nice? Paul's sister Rebecca jumped up. This is insane. Paul, control your wife. Paul stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. Les, you paid for the cruise? Every penny, I confirmed. Did you think your parents suddenly had $25,000 lying around? Your dad's been retired for 5 years, and your mom spends her pension on QVC. I booked it 6 months ago as their anniversary gift, I continued. Surprise. You vindictive little, Nathan started. Careful, I warned. Vindictive outsiders might also mention the family reunion in Vegas I paid for, or Rebecca's destination wedding in Cabo, or the down payment on Paul's sister Jamie's house. You didn't pay for Jamie's house, Olivia protested weakly. Check with Jamie, I suggested. Ask her where the mysterious $50,000 savings came from. While you're at it, ask her why she needed it. Something about credit card debt from funding her husband's failed business. Paul sank onto the couch. How much? How much have you spent on my family over the years? I pretended to think. Between the vacations, the emergencies, the loans that were never repaid, the gifts for events I was barely welcome at, about $200,000. The collective gasp was satisfying. But you never said anything, Rebecca whispered. Because I thought that's what family did, I said. Silly me. I thought 8 years of generosity might earn me a seat at the table, or at least on the anniversary cruise I paid for. We'll pay you back, Nathan said stiffly. I laughed. Actually laughed. With what? Your Social Security? Olivia's jewelry she had to sell last year when you couldn't make the mortgage? I turned to face my husband. Oh yes, I know about that too. Who do you think covered the difference? Paul knew? Olivia turned on her son. I didn't know, Paul protested. Les, why didn't you tell me? Because every time I tried to discuss family finances, you said it wasn't my place. Remember? That's between me and my parents, Les. Don't interfere with family matters, Les. You wouldn't understand our dynamic, Les. I stood up, gathering my purse. Well, now I'm officially not interfering. Your parents need a new anniversary plan? Not my problem. Rebecca needs money for her next scheme? Not my problem. Jamie needs another bailout? Definitely not my problem. You can't just cut us off, Rebecca shrieked. I'm not cutting you off, I said calmly. I'm accepting my place as an outsider. Outsiders don't pay for family vacations. They don't cover family debts. They don't sacrifice their savings for people who treat them like unwelcome guests. This is about more than money, Olivia said coldly. You've never fit in. You don't understand our traditions, our way of life. Your tradition of taking my money while treating me like dirt? I interrupted. You're right. I don't understand it, and I'm done trying to... I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, Paul, I'll be at the Ritz tonight. The honeymoon suite. Already paid for, so I might as well use it. You can join me when you decide whether you're married to me or to your family's bank account. Les, wait. No, I said firmly. I've waited 8 years for you to defend me, to tell them I'm not an outsider, to act like I'm your wife instead of your ATM. I'm done waiting. If you leave now, Nathan threatened, you're never welcome in this house again. Promise? I asked. Because that sounds like the best anniversary gift you could give me. I walked out, ignoring the shouting behind me. My phone started buzzing immediately. Paul, then Olivia, then Rebecca, then Jamie from 3 states away. Word traveled fast in the Jackson family when the money tap turned off. I ignored them all and called my lawyer instead. Tara, it's Leslie. Remember that postnuptial agreement we discussed? I think it's time to draft it. Yes, full financial separation. And Tara, make sure it includes a clause about family gifts requiring both spouses' written consent. By the time I reached the Ritz, my phone had 47 missed calls. I I turned it off and checked in using the corporate card from my company, the successful marketing firm I'd built while the Jacksons called me a hobby entrepreneur. The honeymoon suite was gorgeous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a bathroom bigger than Olivia's beloved orchid room, champagne chilling in a silver bucket. I poured myself a glass and stepped onto the balcony. I powered my phone back on for business emails, and it immediately exploded with texts. Jamie, is it true you paid my down payment? Mom says you're lying. Rebecca, this is theft. We'll sue. Nathan, no granddaughter of mine would behave this way. That last one made me laugh. Granddaughter. I wasn't even a daughter-in-law to them. Then finally, Paul. I'm in the lobby. Can we talk? I considered it. 8 years of marriage, 2 lost babies he'd grieved with me, even if his family hadn't. The man who'd promised to love and cherish me, but forgot the part about forsaking all others when others meant his family. Room 2012, I texted back. He arrived looking haggard, still in the same clothes from dinner. Les, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. Which part? I asked, not moving from the balcony. That they treated me like an outsider, or that I was bankrolling their lifestyle while they did it? Both, he admitted, sinking into a chair. Mom's crying, Dad's threatening to disown me, Rebecca's calling every lawyer in town, and Jamie called to say thank you, he said quietly. She's been carrying the guilt for 2 years, thinking Mom and Dad had sacrificed their savings for her. She had no idea it was you. At least someone appreciates it. I appreciate it, Paul said. I never saw it. They're my parents. I thought their little digs were just personality conflicts. Paul, your mother introduced me at your company party last month as Daniel's wife, the one who does computer things. I'm the CMO of a company with 50 employees. He winced. I know. Do you? Because when she said it, you laughed. I was uncomfortable. You were complicit, I corrected. Every time you stayed silent, you agreed with them. I wasn't family. I was just the woman you happened to marry, the outsider who inexplicably kept paying for everything. What do you want me to do? He asked desperately. Cut them off? Never speak to them again? I want you to choose, I said simply. Either I'm your family, your primary family, or I'm not. Either we're a unit that makes decisions together, or we're not. Either you defend me like a husband should, or you don't. But I'm done living in this middle ground where I'm family when the bills come due, but an outsider the rest of the time. They're my parents, he said weakly. And I'm your wife, the one who held your hand through your appendectomy, who supported you when you changed careers, who paid for your parents' dream cruise while they called me an outsider. Paul was quiet for a long moment. Then, period. Can I see the receipts? What? The receipts for everything you've paid for. I want to see them. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder I'd been keeping, because of course I kept records. I'm a businesswoman, after all. Ever since Jamie called me in tears 2 years ago about her financial troubles, I'd started documenting everything. Paul was always dismissive when I tried to discuss his family's finances, so I handled matters directly with them and kept meticulous records as a precaution. I handed it to him and watched his face pale as he scrolled. $213,000, he whispered. In 8 years, plus the cruise they just lost. They told me they were doing better financially. They said Dad's investments had paid off. He looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I saw him actually seeing me. You never said anything. I tried. You didn't want to hear it. No, he admitted. I didn't. We sat in silence, the city lights twinkling below us. Finally, Paul stood up. I need to go talk to them, he said. My heart sank. Of course, back to Mommy and Daddy. But first, he continued, I need to know if you'll consider couples counseling and a financial advisor, and maybe a therapist just for me to figure out why I've been such a blind idiot. I blinked. What? You're right about all of it. I've been a terrible husband. I let them treat you like an outsider while you were the only one actually acting like family. Real family doesn't keep score or demand gratitude. They just help, like you've been doing. He took a deep breath. I'm going to tell them that until they apologize. Really apologize. Not just because they want your money. They won't be seeing either of us. And if they can't accept you as family, then I guess I'll be an outsider too. I stared at him. You'd do that? I should have done it 8 years ago. The question is, will you give me a chance to do it now? I thought about it. 8 years of frustration and hurt, but also 8 years of love, laughter, shared dreams. The man who'd helped me through miscarriages, who'd celebrated my business successes, who'd made me laugh even on my worst days. Counseling, I said finally, and a postnuptial agreement, and your parents don't get another penny from me unless it's a genuine gift that we both agree on. Deal, he said immediately. Can I stay tonight, or should I get my own room? I poured a second glass of champagne and handed it to him. Stay, but you're calling your parents first, on speaker. He winced but pulled out his phone. Nathan answered on the first ring. Paul, did you talk sense into her? We need to rebook that cruise before... Dad, Paul interrupted, I need you to listen very carefully. Leslie is my wife, my family. If you can't treat her with the respect she deserves, the respect she's more than earned, then you won't be seeing either of us. The silence was deafening. You're choosing her over us? Olivia's voice shrill in the background. I'm choosing my marriage, Paul corrected, the way I should have from the beginning. Leslie has been more family to you than I have. She's the one who made sure you kept your house, Dad. She's the one who saved Jamie from bankruptcy, Mom, and you called her an outsider. That money was from you, Nathan protested. No, Dad, it wasn't. I make good money, but not that good. Every gift from us, that was Leslie. Every vacation, Leslie. Every bailout, Leslie. And you couldn't even include her in your anniversary cruise. We'll pay her back, Olivia said weakly. I don't want your money, I called out. I want an apology, a real one, and I want to be treated like what I am, your son's wife, your daughter-in-law, family. Or what? Nathan blustered. Or nothing, I said simply. Paul and I will live our lives, and you'll live yours, separately, your choice. I nodded to Paul, who ended the call. That was terrifying, he said. That was overdue, I corrected. We spent the night talking, really talking, for the first time in years, about money, about family, about boundaries, about the children we still hope to have, and how we'd never let them treat their spouses the way I'd been treated. The next morning, my phone had dozens of messages. I ignored most of them, but one stood out. Jamie. Leslie, I just wanted to say thank you, not just for the money, but for finally standing up to them. Maybe now things can change. You've always been my favorite sister-in-law. Actually, you've been my only real sister. I smiled and showed it to Paul. She's right, he said. You've been the best part of this family. I'm sorry it took losing a cruise for me to defend that. Better late than never, I said. So, what now? Do we wait for them to apologize? We live our lives, I said, together as a family. And if they want to be part of that, they know the price of admission. Respect, Paul said. It's a lot cheaper than a cruise, I pointed out. 3 weeks later, Olivia called, not to apologize, but to complain that their mortgage payment was due and their usual help wasn't available. I'm sorry to hear that, I said pleasantly. Have you considered a financial advisor? I hear they're very helpful for outsiders. She hung up on me, but 2 months after that, a different call came. Nathan, sounding older and tired. Leslie, we owe you an apology, a real one. Could we take you and Paul to dinner? Our treat. And I mean actually our treat, not yours. It was a start. Not a fairy tale ending where everyone suddenly becomes perfect, but a start. And for the first time in 8 years, I wasn't paying for it. 6 months later, I booked a cruise. For Paul and me. A second honeymoon where I was actually wanted, actually welcome, actually family. We sent the Jacksons a postcard from Santorini. Wish you were here, it said, but only if you really mean it. Because that's what family does. They mean it. And after 8 years of meaning it alone, I finally had a partner who meant it too. The view from our private balcony was spectacular, but not as spectacular as hearing Paul tell the couple at the next table. "This is my wife, Leslie. She's the best thing that ever happened to our family." Our family. 2 words that made a $25,000 cruise worth every penny, even if I was the only one paying for it. This time, by choice. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.
先を考えたら喜んでですよね。休みたいって言ってくれたんですから。